Here's a look at the Smart UPS 1250 that I've just got done replacing the MOVs on. This had a lot of burn damage, but it wasn't nearly as deep and severe as the other ones. So I went ahead and tried to redo this one. I'm going to see if it works in just a little bit here. There was some burn marks I couldn't remove, and the problem is with MOV burn marks is the material that it leaves on the board is usually kind of conductive. So I had to just clean it up the best I could, and I hope everything's going to work okay. There's some soot around all this low voltage stuff back here, but these are 150 volt varistors. I actually had 130 volt as my first batch that I ordered, and I used them in that back UPS that's over there. And while it seems to work okay, I'd rather go with 150 because my line voltage is usually around 123 to 125, and I just don't want them that close to their rating. So let me try to put this back in the housing real quick. Just about ready to give this thing a test. I ended up taking the front bezel where the buttons are out of another one because the one that was in this one was just so dried out that it just shattered when I tried to mount the controls back in. Got the batteries from the second one. Had a lot of corrosion on that negative terminal there and on that fuse. I had to clean that up and put a new nut on it. And I just got to put some tape over the terminals and put this lid on, and I can give it a full power test. Alright, power's going in. Let's see what happens. Enable switch on. Fan's running, must be charging. I'm going to have to let it charge before I do a calibration on it, but let's see what happens here. Oh, no smoke yet. I have the cover on because I'm not going to leave it open. If something does go, it's going to be a lot of sparks, and it'd be kind of dangerous to have it open. I don't want that stuff blowing up in my face, so burning at 50% load, that 500 watt halogen light. Actually, this is a 900 watt UPS, 1250 volt amp, so it's just a little over 50. I gotta let these batteries come back up to full charge before I do a calibration, but I'm gonna go ahead and do a quick test nonetheless. Yeah, batteries seem pretty strong still for how old they are. It's saying replace battery though, so I guess I won't know until I let it fully charge. Firmware's probably all out of whack. I do have another set of batteries there, but I'm going to use those in the newer one that I'm waiting to come from eBay. So let me shut this thing up and let it charge, and we'll go from there. While that one finishes charging up, I wanted to take a look at one of the really burned up ones. Can't really get a good shot with the camera of how burned everything is because you guys don't really know what a good one looks like, I don't think. Some of you might, and might have had an idea from looking at the board out of that one when I was putting it together. But there's a cluster of MOVs down between those two choke coils that's just burned to a massive carbon. And everything's coated in this like silver dust from the MOVs arcing. I'm not sure if this one's going to be worth fixing or not. I haven't stripped anything out of it other than the battery cables because I needed them for that one. But if I pull it out and the circuit board is intact and not burned through, I might give it a shot fixing this one down the road, or I'll probably just keep it for a parts unit. But what bummed me out is this one that was in my bedroom was the newest one, and it had the newest firmware, and it's the one that had the most severe damage to the circuit board. Burned a lot of holes through the copper traces, and I ended up using it for parts to get that one going. I've wondered if I could take that microcontroller off that has the newer firmware and put it in the other one, but I don't want to chance it because it's probably calibrated to the components that are on the given board. I'm not really sure about that. and APC really doesn't want anything to do with these older units. I was really bummed that the insurance company lowballed me so bad on these because they were discontinued models. The fact of the matter is, these are pretty much the same thing as the Smart UPS 1500, which is the current model. They're just rated for, I think, 80 less watts than the 1500 is. They use the exact same batteries, they have about the same runtime. They also put out a sine wave signal, pretty much the same functionality. And these are actually made in the USA, unlike the newer ones. So I had 3 nice working sine wave output UPSs, and I was only able to replace 1. I got this one going, I think, from the extra parts, and that spare one that's running my server right now, that was kind of my junker, that one is running. But nonetheless, I had to put a lot of work into these just to get these 2 running, and it really ticked me off. I'm also going to be minus 2 or 3 of my smaller UPSs because they're just burnt beyond repair, and so much for that. But at least I got a spare, and once my other one comes from eBay, I'm going to put my good set of batteries that's only a couple months old in that one and have a nice Smart UPS 1500. I think that one was a SUA 1500. It was the black version of these, just slightly newer. Again, pretty much the same runtime, same specs. It really doesn't matter that these were made in 1994 or 95. They still run perfectly when they're properly maintained. Some of you have asked about recapping these, what caps need to be changed and stuff. I think there's 5 of the little 22 microfarad 16 volt caps in there. There's 100 microfarad and a couple of 47 microfarads. If anybody has one of these that they're recapping and they want a list of the actual part locations and values, just let me know. I'll see if I can dig up that information. Well, darn it, the site wiring site wiring fault indicator is always on this. So apparently there's some more work to be done. Ticks me off. I had this all back together and the batteries had done charging. I was just about ready to give it a final test and I realized that this was going on. I've tried a couple different power cords and stuff too, so I know that's not the issue. So that's a bummer. Well, I found some more bad parts like I suspected. The circuit that detects a line fault was actually burned up as well, mainly the diode. This is the one I've salvaged off the other board, and the 2N2222 transistor was also open in all directions. Thinking about also changing this opto isolator. I'm assuming that's what that is. I can't quite read the number on it, but yeah, the diode that was on there, it completely broke in half when I went to move it a little bit. It was shorted out. So I'm going to put these parts on here and try again. It was a pain to put this all back together and put it back in the case, and I got to do it all over again, doggone it. Alright, well, that LED is no longer lit now that I got those parts replaced. It was just a diode, a resistor, a transistor, and an opto isolator. Looks like I am going to need some new batteries though. Whenever this switches over to batteries, I hear the fan slow down more than it should. And I bet you if I do another self-test, it's probably going to say replace battery. Yeah. Maybe not. I know the battery's on its way out, but it might still give me half decent run time for what I need it for. It's a good spare anyway. I'll let it fully charge up and do a start to finish runtime test before I put it into service. But it's working a lot better than it was. Alright, I'm finally down to the point I wanted to be, doing the actual load test. This time I silenced the battery alarm so that I can actually hear myself think, unlike the last couple times I've done these tests. But that battery gauge is dropping quick, so more than likely I'm going to have to get a new set of batteries for this before I do anything serious with it. It's only been a couple of minutes so far. It's a pretty heavy load though, 500 watts of resistive load. Quite a bit of juice to